Wherefore, Series 3, Episode 41. The trouble with real life is that it mostly isn't plot-shaped. Conventional books impose order on reality, and that's no doubt part of why we like them. There's some comfort in the idea that it might all make sense. Life doesn't make much sense, and in this regard, soap operas are a lot more like life because they just keep going relentlessly and nothing is really properly finished. Individual story arcs end with death, but if there's more than one character, death is not the end of the story. Obviously, it's a bit awkward if a first-person narrator dies suddenly, but here we are, the tail end of series 3, and I've not succumbed to the plague or any of the other things that might have brought this project to an abrupt end. Will there be closure? Will there be resolution? Can I tie enough story ends off in the next 9 episodes or so without that feeling strained and unlikely? Excessively tidy endings can be unpersuasive. And how many endings do we need? Are we happy, for example, to accept that Simon running off to Ditchley Yak constitutes a happy ending for him? Ryan Jenkins is dead, but his Small Hill self continues. Is that a good enough ending? We haven't checked in with the were-rhubarbs in ages. Are we happy to assume that their lives involve less drama now and don't need further consideration? How is Badger Boy doing? What about the strange woman who made us think Painswick wasn't real? Will there be more drama involving Amagin, or is he just going to get on with living inside Marjorie Peasblossom's head? And on a not unrelated note, will the Beacon ever reopen? It's been sat there threatening us with a reboot for ages, and no one knows if it will turn out better or worse than its previous incarnation, and the suspense is awful. This is also a problem intrinsic to a story about real things happening in a real place. Truly, none of us know what will happen next. We've reached the awkward point in the story where Wherefore time has caught up to real time. I truly am existing as a narrator in something dangerously close to the present tense now. When I started, the tale was all about things that had happened and I could look back on. Now there might only be a few days between the event and the reporting of it. This is not, frankly, the kind of thing narrators do in conventional fiction. This precarious narrating from too close to the events is not literature. It's a kind of brinksmanship that has come about mostly by accident. Often the end of a story depends on knowing when to quit. The sensible thing to do would have been to stop telling the story before it caught up with me. The problem with that was the distinct lack of closure. I quite like there to be a good ending, and I'm not sure how to contrive one. The thing is, the character I most want a good ending for is in fact me. And while I've been trying quite hard to engineer that, it's not entirely up to me to decide how things play out. There's only so much weaving a person can do. This may be a good time for another weaving lesson. So, you can weave things super tight and precisely. You can. It's a terrible idea. The weave isn't meant to be super tight. It favours patterns and trends, not tight knots of contrived occurrence. When you make a piece of cloth, if you weave a bit of it too hard, if you embroider it more densely than the cloth itself can bear, you get distortions. I can try to steer a set of threads towards good outcomes, but if I insist on a specific outcome, distortions are inevitable. And let me tell you, distortions can be really dangerous. You might get exactly what you want in the short term, but if you force things too hard, you will pay. Can I get a happy ending in 9 episodes? Will I have no choice but to just stop and leave story threads hanging as life threads continue to weave and wander onwards? Why am I fixated on stopping anyway? Why not run blithely on into Series 4 and see what happens? Well, this is the thing. I can't see the future in a foolproof way, but because I can see the threads, I can sometimes get a fair idea of what's coming. have a feeling that I'm going to need to stop telling this story because I'll be busy with other things for a while. This is also meta, that I'm half afraid someone is going to mistake this for full-blown literature, which it is not. It's a soap opera gone a bit feral. Maybe it has rabies. No, scratch that. I don't want to find that the only answer is euthanasia. I assert that this is a feral soap opera, but that however mad it may seem, it is fundamentally healthy and should be allowed to live. It is important to be clear about these things. Life is not like fiction. If there is life, there isn't an ending. If there isn't life, there isn't a happy ending. Where is this autumn taking me? What is this dramatic shift that I can see coming, but cannot really see the shape of? Might it prove to be just shadows all along? I could be wrong about this, and it might make sense to keep on with the soap opera, but for 8 more episodes, at least for a month, I will play with the threads and see if there might be a conclusion after all.